Good morning, all. Welcome to OMA Social at Internet Week, New York, 2013. I think that we've got the crowd is a little bit slow in building, so I'm going to fill some time, but don't worry, not too much. I wanted to call attention to all of the events MediaPost is doing at Internet Week. You might want to put them on your schedule. Some are probably already intending to be at our other events. We're starting today with OMA Social here at the Altman Center. OMA Video tomorrow at the Eventi Hotel, which is up more or less on 30th and Broadway. And following there, at the same venue with OMA Mobile on Wednesday. And then back here at the Altman Center for OMA DDM, Data Driven Marketing, which is a new show we premiered in New York in January, and to great acclaim. It was a great deal of interest in the subject, as we all know and can imagine. So plan on putting us into your schedule if we're not already. We enjoy and appreciate your support. A couple housekeeping issues about the relationship to Internet Week. All attendees at OMA Social are invited to also go through the exhibits over here at the Internet Week headquarters. You probably can go through with just the OMA badge. If anybody asks you, what are you doing here? You just, if they insist on seeing an Internet Week badge, we actually have them at the registration desk. But I don't think that, I think that they're all open to the idea that the OMA badges just walk through. But we do have green Internet Week headquarters badges available to every OMA Social attendee, and you can pick them up at the registration desk. So thanks, as always, to our sponsors who make it possible for us to put these shows on. We appreciate their support. Our title sponsor here today is Louddoor. You'll be hearing from them at lunch. The sponsor presentation during the luncheon hour, they're as well as sponsor of the lunch. And we also have as a presenting sponsor Expo TV. Louddoor has been with us for the past year approximately at a number of our social events, and we appreciate their help in all of that. Expo TV is a new sponsor. You'll be hearing from them at lunch as well. And we hope you'll give them your attention. So we also have here in the building Shoutlet and Unmetric. Both have booths back at the back of the hall, and you can learn what they're up to. Shoutlet's been a regular sponsor at social events over a number of years, and we like having them back, and we like as well the new ones. Unmetric is new to us as well. So add this, and add Parlor also are supporting this event. Thank you very much. Now I have to look at my notes. That's kind of more or less it for me. One further thing I'll call your attention to, those of you interested in social, and of course it would seem that all of you are who are here, we put on an event twice a year at a getaway spot called the Social Media Insider Summit. The next edition is coming up in August at Lake Tahoe, Squaw Valley, Lake Tahoe. It's a beautiful setting. We've done it for several years in a row. People love it. Go for a sunset cruise on the lake and, other things, river rafting and horseback riding and God knows what. And we also have conference programming that is always compelling, and it also justifies your trip. So you might think about putting that on your schedule as well. It's a great time and an excellent time to meet your fellow social media and marketing compatriots. So without further ado, I want to introduce our MC and the programmer of this show, Kathy Taylor. I think you all probably know Kathy in one form or another. She's been programming our events, the social events now for 4 or 5 years, whatever number of years we've been doing them, she's been programming them. She's a longtime journalist in the advertising and marketing field and a good friend of MediaPost. Kathy?
Thanks, Ken. Good morning, everybody. Yes, I try to cover social. It's a little hard because it keeps changing, and I was actually kind of psyched that Yahoo did the Tumblr deal yesterday for only one reason, is that it creates lots of fodder for a conference the next day. So I don't know what your opinions are of that deal, but I think also what's interesting about things like that is, we've sort of been living in a socialist everywhere world, and if there's a if Yahoo owns Tumblr, I guess that kind of proves the point. So anyway, I want to just move right on to introducing our morning keynote, who's Guy Alif. He's the head of global product marketing at Twitter. He has spoken here at our shows before and does a great job of explaining sort of Twitter's place in the social universe, and his presentation has a lot of really great examples of what you can do on Twitter now, and it's not just going to be about the Oreo Twitter ad. Although I am going to keep count throughout the conference how many times the Oreo Twitter ad comes up. So just briefly, just to tell you a little bit about him, his organization at Twitter is responsible for advertising, product strategy, and messaging. And before Twitter, Guy led advertising product marketing at Yahoo. So maybe we can ask him what he thinks of the Tumblr deal. While at Yahoo, Guy spent 7 years serving advertisers large and small in search, display, online, and finally across all of Yahoo's ad products. Before that, he worked at TradeWeave, an online marketplace in retail, and he's also been at Microsoft and Boston Consulting Group and lots of places. Anyway, he also has he graduated summa cum laude from Princeton. This is my favorite part of his resume, with a major in mechanical and aerospace engineering. So anyway, with that, Guy, can you come out here from backstage? Please give Guy a round of applause.
Thanks, Kathy. Thank you very much. As Kathy mentioned, my name is Guy Alif. I lead the global product marketing team at Twitter. And today I hope to talk to you about something that typically doesn't go along with being an aerospace engineer, and that's creativity. Creativity in a constrained space. And actually want to go back to a constrained space that happened 7 years ago with the first tweet that ever went out from Twitter. It came from Jack Dorsey. And it, like all the other tweets since, was 140 characters long. Why? Because it, like many that happened since then, was sent via SMS. We took 20 for the username. That left us, as marketers and users, 140 characters with which to evoke an emotive response from consumers, get them to take an action we wanted them to take, and achieve our objectives. Think about 140 characters in any other medium. It's really constraining. It's a small space with which to work. And what I hope to do today is persuade you of something I believe, that 140 characters on Twitter are different than 140 characters anywhere else in the world. And I hope to do that, as Kathy mentioned, with some examples, a little bit of data, and I hope they leave you with some concrete ideas of things you can do back in the office after OMA Social. If you've got questions, please jump in and interrupt. We've got constrained time, so if there are too many, we'll be around afterwards. But I'll start with the context in which those 140 characters appear. The interaction and conversations that happen on Twitter surround each of those groups of 140 characters, and there's a lot of it. Turns out there are 1 billion tweets happening every 2.5 days, setting context for your messages out there. And they're coming from a couple 100 million active users every month, 60% of whom are accessing the platform at least once on one of these. As consumers are engaging this much and creating this much conversation, they want to hear from you. They want to hear from all of us. The typical Twitter consumer follows a half dozen brands, and if they're a mobile primary user, they're almost 60% more likely to follow a dozen of them. They talk about the things that are interesting to them, the issues of the day, the topics, the people. They also talk about things that are relevant to all of us as marketers. They talk to the tunes of millions of conversations a week about entertainment, finance, autos, consumer packaged goods, topics that are relevant to many of us in the room. And when they do so in an interesting way, or when we do so in an interesting way, the news travels really quickly, like it did for this woman. Stephanie happened to be at the right place at the right time. She was on a commercial airliner over Florida, happened to see the space shuttle take off. She took a picture, tweeted it out, And because it was interesting content, it traveled to millions of people in a matter of a couple hours and got picked up by mainstream press. Because on this platform, we as marketers are rewarded for being good rather than for being loud. When we create interesting content, similar things happen. They happen out in public as people are engaging with their passions, and that enables some pretty interesting conversations to happen. Conversations that probably couldn't happen in the real world. One happened with this guy who just came down to Earth a couple of days ago after 150 days in the space station. Chris Hadfield gave all of us some great perspective on what it's like to be up in space looking down at Earth, including wishing all of us Happy New Year. He had an almost surreal conversation with a fictitious Starship captain who tweeted to him. He replied back in the voice of the Starship captain from the TV show. And it was such an engaging conversation that a moonwalking astronaut then dove in and engaged with them too. And they had this dialogue that never would have happened in the real world. But on this platform, because it's all out in public, because people come together around the things that are interesting to them, it happens regularly. Another thing that happens regularly is consumers are telling the stories that we all want to tell, sometimes better than us, and at least they're telling it for us. These 3 tweets took 5 minutes to find. The first one, as an example, Ria has 180 followers. She's a drama grad student in the UK, and she happened to look at her Diet Coke. See, you know what? They're focused on women's heart health. Saw this break in the clouds. Perfect. Took a picture, tweeted it out. Coke would have spent a lot of money creating this picture. And here's a user telling their story. They're able to then retweet it out to all of their followers and have this totally on-message message make it out directly from one of their customers, directly from somebody who's talking about their brand. Consumer dialogue creates other opportunities for us to tell our stories. Smart Car realized, hey, you know what? My biggest consumer marketing challenge is to convince people to get into this little car. They're afraid they're going to get hurt. Turns out Smart Car has a 5-star crash test safety rating. They focus a lot of their marketing on getting their message out. So when they see messages like this one, their social media team sees opportunity. Somebody said, hey, look, bird crapped on my Smart Car, totaled it. Car's gone. They replied in a very witty way and said, actually, we think it's about 4.5 million bird craps. We did the math. And they sent this infographic saying it would take 4.5 million pigeon craps, 3,600 turkey craps, 45,000 emu craps in order to total their car. And then they delivered their safety message. Humorous, on message, creative, all in the constraints of 140 characters. Yes, question? The question was, when you have a picture, does it automatically size itself to fit in this interface? And yes, it will fit. We will then shrink it down so that it will appear together with the tweet. In fact, it'll appear wherever that tweet appears. It'll appear on feature phones, smartphones, browsers, all of our owned and operated apps. So you upload that picture once, and it'll go everywhere. It'll be resized.
One more related question.
Yes.
How does a clearly valuable tweet like that become somewhat more persistent than just fleeting, passing in a moment?
Great question. Brands have a few ways they can choose to do that. They can, on their profile page, pin a tweet to the top. Just say, hey, you know what, that tweet I want front and center whenever somebody looks at my profile page. And people do it a lot, directly from the platform, a lot from Google search. Another thing they can do is embed it. You can, a couple of clicks, get a single line of code. You can put this on a website. There are 1.5 million apps out there today that use tweets in their experience, and this will flow through those as well. But a brand could say, you know what, I want this right front and center on my website. And then we see them putting it on billboards in Times Square and a bunch of other places. Another thing you can do as a brand in these 140 characters is invite consumers to engage with you. Invite them to propagate your story. Adidas was creating a whole new line of jerseys for March Madness, and they invited consumers to pass along the message. They said, look, here's a fraction of a picture. Retweet this, we'll reveal the next cut. Retweet some more, the next one, and the next one. And over the course of a few days, they took a topic people are totally passionate about, created a bunch of conversation about it and a bunch of earned media with this, our made-up name for it is Flock to Unlock, inviting people to take this collective action to reveal something more. And it turns out, based on some study we did, that it works. When you ask people to retweet, they're 4 times as likely to do it. As I mentioned earlier, though, on this platform, you're rewarded for being good rather than being loud. So our advice would be to do this sparingly. When you do it, it works. But if you're constantly doing it, it'll feel like you're yelling at your target audience, and they'll probably choose to invest their time elsewhere. So that's one, the conversation and context around these 140 characters. The next difference is that this platform gives you a great view into what people are interested in right now, based on their actions, based on what they did. Not what they said they were interested in the day they joined the platform, but what they did today. When my wife got pregnant, you could tell immediately I was about to be a dad, because I started doing things on this platform that I had no interest in doing before I knew I was going to be a dad. And there are a bunch of signals like that that come out every day, and they happen throughout the day. We watch mobile users engaging with this platform all day long. Those that say they primarily access Twitter on mobile are twice as likely to pick up the phone right when they wake up and just before they go to bed. They're 3 times as likely to use the phone while they're out shopping. Great signal, great opportunity for each of us to engage with them. That creates the opportunity for us to do unique things with them, like Morton's decided to do for one customer. Peter Shankman happens to be a reporter, so they thoughtfully chose the person to do this with. Said, hey, look, I'm going to be in Newark in 2 hours. I'm flying up there. Can you please bring me a porterhouse steak? Sort of tongue-in-cheek kind of tweet. They showed up. They actually showed up with the steak. He was thrilled. Tweeted about it, created a ton of earned media, created a lot of stories about what a customer service-focused organization Morton's is. And for them, that's an important part of their brand equity, important part of their brand platform. As Kathy mentioned earlier, the Super Bowl created an unexpected opportunity this year, and we saw a lot of people talking about Oreo, so I won't talk about them. I will talk about another example that happened 9 months before then to illustrate how this has been ongoing for a while. The Daytona 500 a year ago had a big crash. Oil spilled all over the track. Fire. They shut down the track for 45 minutes to clean it up. And so Brad Keselowski, one of the leading drivers in NASCAR, did what any responsible driver would do. Took out his cell phone, took a picture of it, tweeted it from his race car. Not surprisingly, that drove a bunch of conversation. People were saying, do you really have a cell phone in the car with you? He said, yeah, maybe I do, and created a bunch of conversation. Well, one of the sponsors of NASCAR is Tide. They're the official cleaning agent of NASCAR, and they were used to clean up the track, and they saw opportunity there. An entrepreneurial marketer there took this picture of the TV screen while Tide is being used to clean up the track and said, give us a caption for this. They posted this the next morning and said, what would you title this picture? A great way to make, frankly, their TV dollar investment, their sponsorship investment, simply work harder for them. They got more out of it and created a bunch of conversation that let them engage in that real-time moment. When you put out content, you will also get real-time feedback on it. You'll see dashboards that will tell you minutes after you put a tweet out. It'll tell you in real time. It give people a couple minutes to react. Are people engaging with it? You'll get one like this one that'll tell you, who's it resonating more for? Is it resonating more for men or for women? For people in New York or DC? For people who like cats or dogs, dramas or comedies? Is it resonating more for iPhone users or Android users? You can then use that as input to your creative messaging and to the offers you put out there because you'll get this real-time signal. And you can use that real-time signal on this platform to do some things you didn't think were possible in 140 characters. You can actually use tweets to deliver purchases all the way through the bottom of the funnel. Amex created this brilliant integration that I'll let this 1-minute video play. It'll walk you through it.
Presenting Amex Sync on Twitter, where you can get products, offers, and more with your synced American Express card by tweeting special hashtags. Here's how it works. Sync your eligible American Express card with Twitter at sync.americanexpress.com/Twitter. Of course, your account information will be kept private and never be shared. Now, check your Twitter feed for special hashtags from American Express. If you see a great offer you want, simply tweet the hashtag to load it to your synced card. Then shop with your card as you normally would. No need to show your phone or print any coupons. When you make a qualifying purchase, you get an automatic statement credit. And with Amex Sync, you can also tweet to buy some of today's hottest products. Just tweet special product hashtags for the items you want and then confirm your purchase. That's it. Your item will be delivered. It's that easy with Amex Sync on Twitter.
Now imagine some of your products.
To learn more and get started, head over to sync.americanexpress.com/Twitter.
In that experience, no coupon, nothing to print out, simple, smooth integration. It's a great way to activate these marketing moments. Other ways you can choose to do that in this 140 characters is to use interest targeting that we make available on the platform. There are 350 of them. You can target your message just to the users that are interested in seeing it. And we recently created, about 4 weeks ago, another way for you to activate real-time marketing without employing an army, without having an army of people that are there looking at every tweet every day. And the way we did that was to recognize that every tweet is sending signals. Every tweet is giving you a sense of what people are interested in because they either tweeted it out or they engaged with it. And in this example, this fictitious company, Vacation Central, was able to look for people like Annie who tweeted out the words vacation and Mexico. And they said, great, she's my target audience. She's somebody who's interested in vacationing in Mexico. I want to send her this message. And so this enables Vacation Central to take advantage of these marketing moments, to appear in people's timelines shortly after they either tweet or engage with tweets with these keywords at scale. You can be present all the time without having to have somebody watching all the time. You simply need somebody to set it up in advance, and they'll be able to then have this real-time marketing program, and you'll get all those analytics to see what's working and what's not. So that's the second way we think 140 characters are different. All of this intent that you have visible out in public via tweets. The third is that tweets are actually an envelope to something richer. We have been working with brands, agencies, and publishers for the better part of a year to enable them to integrate rich media directly into a tweet. And so far, a couple thousand have done it. You can now send a tweet that includes a picture, a photo gallery, audio, the familiar tools of sight, sound, and motion. You can send a tweet that includes a product detail that has picture, price, and a deep link right to your site where somebody can buy a product. App download or summary of other content. And this will be visible everywhere a tweet appears, to the question that was asked earlier. It will be portable together with that tweet that will act as an envelope. And in January, we further extended this. We extended the notion of what video is on this platform by creating another constrained publishing environment. We launched an app called Vine that is a mobile service that lets you capture and share 6-second looping videos. And they can be distributed as tweets, just like other rich media. And they inspired a lot of creativity. People used it in really creative ways, so much so that Robert De Niro, one of the co-founders of the Tribeca Film Festival, said, 6 seconds of beginning, middle, and end, if you count it out, this actually can be a long time. You can tell a whole story in 6 seconds. He and the other co-founder said, we're going to create a mini film festival within the Tribeca Film Festival. And they invited people to submit Vines. 400 people did in a bunch of different categories to express their creativity. This one happens to be the winner of the Animate category called How to Clear Your Garage from a Scary Ghost. I'll mute this for a second. Imagine if this individual can create this, what your creative agency can do, day in, day out, to help deliver your message. A bunch of brands have started doing this. One was Lowe's. They recognized, hey, you know what? There are 1.3 million conversations about home improvement every day on Twitter. Great, let's help people with that. They created a series of Vines that they distributed through tweets to give people advice on how to do basic things in home improvement, like how to deal with a screw that's stripped. Simple 6-second video, practical technique, drove a ton of positive reaction, using this as a creative platform to deliver that message. Another thing you can do with these rich media is deliver pictures and give them context. This picture on its own, pretty uninteresting. It's a guy looking at a room full of stickies. With context, it becomes really interesting. This is Ron Howard tweeting about the return of Arrested Development, saying, hey, we're working on the next show. We're bringing it back. And you see, as a result, people retweeting it and engaging with it at scale. And that cost nothing to make. People really enjoy the behind-the-scenes look. You can go with one of these, take the, here's my product being delivered to market. Here's the product being manufactured. Here are the people that provide the service that you're used to every day. With one of these, at essentially no cost, people really engage with that kind of content on this platform. It resonates well, not just the high production value stuff. One of the more unique uses of 140 characters that we ever saw came from Smart Car in Argentina. They went way old school, back to the 80s, to ASCII art, and they created a series of tweets that if you scrolled through their timeline, this is what you saw. This goes on for like 30 seconds. They created this whole experience just in 140 character ASCII art. They did this in April 2012, and it resonated around the world. It was just a really creative use of the platform. And it delivered their key messages, and it goes on for a while. Last thought to leave you with about the richer delivery of the content itself is to optimize the 140 characters themselves. There are a lot of parallels to the early days of search, where tweaks to the copy can actually have a big impact. If you invite users to engage with you, if you ask them a question, they tend to be 17% higher. They tend to click on tweets 17% more often, based on 674,000 tweets we analyzed together with Topsy. If you scream at them by putting a lot of exclamation points in your tweets, they tend to engage less, just like this platform. And the middle one, I must admit, we didn't see coming. There are a bunch of theories about why that might be the case. If you did all of these together, along with the other things that came out of that, you'd actually have a pretty terrible looking tweet. These are really thought starters. They're thought starters for your own experimentation. Experiment, see what content resonates best and for whom, what time of day, how often you should tweet. You will get real-time feedback on this platform to help improve your presence and your creativity so that it can deliver the results you want it to. The last area to share with you is the notion that this platform builds a bridge to your other media. It doesn't exist as a standalone island. We would encourage you to let your other media investments, your other marketing investments work harder for you by reflexively extending them onto this platform. If you're doing TV, mirror it on Twitter. Print, outdoor, you'll get more conversation that day, and you'll get additional conversation in the days that follow, all for free. If it goes well for you, then you can choose to amplify it. But you have the opportunity to catch people throughout the day with that other media. And it turns out, if they're mobile primary users, they tend to engage back throughout the day. People who use Twitter primarily on mobile are 2/3 more likely to retweet your content and 44% more likely to click on the links that you put out there, driving them directly to the call to action you want them to take. And they're 53% more likely to remember that they saw an ad on Twitter, giving you great opportunity to engage them right as they're talking about the things they care about. One of the things they care about a lot, at least in the US, and we see it increasingly around the world, is TV. Nielsen found that 85% of consumers in the US have one of these open in front of them while they're watching TV. And when we asked our customers, especially the mobile primary ones, what are you doing while you watch TV? Almost 2/3 of them said, hey, you know what? I've got Twitter open. This is the app I have open while I'm watching TV. And 1/4 of them said, I'm tweeting about the show I'm watching right now. We see graphs like this where people are talking about the shows they're watching right now across genres, across geographies, time and time again. They're easily repeatable. And the result of that behavior, a massive shift in consumer behavior, together with the fact that this platform is open, public, and unfiltered, creates the interesting scenario where 95% of the public conversation about TV is happening here. Nielsen analyzed that, and a few months ago, in March, said, you know what, there's correlation there. If there's a 4.5% increase in the Twitter conversation about a mid-season show, there's a 1% increase in the TV ratings. And for a premiere, 8.5% drive is the wrong word, correlates with a 1% increase in the TV ratings. That shows all of us that there's this great signal that will enable us to make our TV investments work harder for us. And we've done it with the Super Bowl leading the way. 2 years ago, one ad had a hashtag in it, driving a call to action. A year ago, 1 in 5. This year, 1 in 2 had hashtags in them so that marketers could take that $3 million and let it work harder for them so that they could get more out of it. TV networks have also seen this. They have created these amazing moments increasingly recently, like this one in March Madness, where every time there was an amazing play, people's pockets buzzed. And they got to see a clip of a recent highlight that happened while they were doing something else. And what they did was enable Coke and AT&T, who were on-air sponsors, to have a bit of pre-roll. They created this multi-screen sponsorship that extended the experience for the brand and created a great consumer opportunity. This week, I saw for the first time a print version of this. GQ had Gucci as an advertiser in the magazine and distributed a little bit of video. They sent a GQ tile and Gucci tile and Gucci pre-roll in that video. Again, creating, I don't know what you would call it. It's not multi-screen, but across print and tweets, driving additional engagement. Target used this directly in an ad, not tied to content, but tied to a product they were selling. They delivered an upper funnel message on TV and followed it up with a lower funnel call to action in a tweet that followed up. This is a commercial they put online. If you would mind turning it down just a little bit on the volume. This is a commercial they put online, on TV, advertising a Justin Timberlake album that was coming out. And there's one call to action in this commercial. It'll come up at the very end. You're gonna see a hashtag near the bottom. There. It's the only call to action they put in this ad. And if you went to that hashtag, you saw this tweet from them. You saw something that built right on the commercial they'd created. And right in this tweet, you could go buy the album. They were selling it in advance, and they'd give you 2 exclusive tracks if you bought it in advance. You could also preview it. You could listen to some of the tracks while this was a tweet right in front of you, right there, building on the commercial you'd just seen. Great creative multi-screen approach. We saw Yoplait do this recently as they wanted to connect their brand to fashion more directly. They created a 2-week fashion show together with Mary Claire, inviting users to tweet out pictures of their most creative fashion ideas that were inspired by their favorite Yoplait flavors. Users had to follow Yoplait and tweet with a certain hashtag. They picked a winner, and that winner was flown to New York, met Nina Garcia for Fashion Week, and got a spread in the November issue. A great creative way to make an existing investment that built their brand work harder for them. Last example in this area, Nike used this out in the real world. They had a problem we all would wish for. They saw too many people showing up at their stores when they had new shoes. It kind of got unruly. It got a little nutty for them. They said, okay, great, we're going to implement an RSVP system. They invited people to follow the local Nike store, DM them with a certain hashtag, their name, and their shoe size. Nike then DM'd them back saying, great, you got your reservation. People walked into the store, picked up their shoes, and walked out. No more crazy crowds, and a ton of earned media for them that worked well. They used it across a bunch of stores nationally. Really creative use of 140 characters. If this goes well for you, if these creative ideas work for you organically and you choose to amplify them, 1 minute on the way you can do that on this platform. On Twitter, ads are purely prominent, targeted placements of the existing organic experience. There's no interruption. It is very much a native experience, and people tend to engage with those ads 1 to 3% of the time. We think that happens for 2 reasons. One are all these actions that happen out in public. You follow, you engage with tweets, you do all these things that give our systems a great read on what's interesting to you right now. And the second is the ad format itself. To turn this tweet into an ad, all you do is this. And consumers can then engage with that tweet just like they do any other tweet. They can click on a link, they can @reply, they can retweet. I mean, Think about that retweet. When was the last time you saw an ad that was so awesome? Took a picture, emailed it out to all your friends. Like, it never happens. But on this platform, it happens at scale when people retweet promoted tweets. And so the ads, they are part of the organic experience. You can drive incremental followers by trying to promote your account, and it's a performance model. You only pay when people follow. You can spark a conversation by appearing at the top of the list of what's trending now. Or you can drive action at scale by promoting a tweet either when people search or into people's timelines, and you can target that message using a variety of familiar targeting options: geo, mobile, gender, search, and a few options that are unique to this platform. You can target directly based on those people's interests. You can target based on those keywords we talked about before. The results so far have been encouraging. Some upper funnel metrics based on a beta we ran with surveys to users: 53% purchase intent increase, 22% increase in message association for that beta test. Later on in the funnel, we ran another study and saw a 45% increase in purchases in one vertical. This was retail e-commerce. We've seen this as we've run this study in other verticals as well. So, I hope that that gives a little context together with the earlier parts for why on Twitter 140 characters are different than they are anywhere else in the world. And we think that's the case because here those 140 characters are surrounded by a bunch of interaction and conversation. You get to capitalize on the real-time interests and intent that people express. You get to use them as an envelope for something richer, and you can build on this platform to your other media, making that media work harder for you rather than this living as an island. I hope this gave you some concrete ideas you can use back in the office after OMA Social. And if you'd like some of the highlights from this talk, please just go to Twitter Ads. You can click on a link there, and we've got a PDF for you to download. Any questions?
Yeah, questions? Do we have questions from the audience? Oh, you guys need a little more caffeine. No. Well, one question I had, I was thinking this goes back to the Morton's example and Peter Shankman, and that's a really cool thing. He does, I checked, he has 155,000 followers, so he's not your average Twitter user. So I wondered kind of what your advice is to brands in terms of doing that engagement with people who are not as popular and what the I think there was a good Diet Coke example earlier where the woman had maybe 150 followers. Because people, I know when I've been interacting with a brand, I don't have that many followers, but you do kind of wonder, well, is it because I have 2,500 followers, or should we just be doing that with anybody who's posting interesting content? So what's your advice to them?
Our advice would be to consider both and to help tell the creative story you want to tell. We watched Audi do this with their R8. It's a $150,000 sports car. They saw a woman tweet, "God, I wish I had one of those." So they gave her one for a day. They showed up at her house, let her drive an R8 for a day, videoed it, and sent that out as a tweet. They drove a ton of conversation. They got 40,000 people to talk about a $150,000 sports car in 24 hours. That's hard to do with the product at that price tag. And so they chose to engage with somebody who had a small number of followers, 100, 200, and create a story out of it, building on what she had already done. Because these conversations are all happening in public, it creates great opportunity for us to use those as a spark for something creative to tell the stories we want to tell.
Thanks. Okay, we have a mic, way back there.
Hey, how are you?
Hey.
About the rich media ads, are you putting out any tools or anything like that for agencies to build on top of to make that easier?
Great question. So a couple of pieces to it. One, agencies today can use any one of the couple thousand media partners we have to post media and simply tweet out a link like YouTube. You create a video you want to distribute, post it on YouTube, put that link in your tweet, you're done. It'll be auto-resized, auto-resampled across mobile, desktop, tablet, smoothly. If you want to integrate it in for your client's own website so that, let's pretend your client's Target, and my wife tweets about Target with a link to Target's page, if you want their product content to appear, there's a bit of additional work to do, some light tagging to do on their site so that our servers, when we see that link, will crawl target site, pull in the content you've chosen with them, and have that be portable along with the tweet. And the process is pretty straightforward. It's at dev.twitter.com, or just ping me and we'll make the right connections.
Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you, Guy. You'll be around, or there's various Twitter people in the audience too, right? So
There
if
are.
you guys have further questions, please go find them, and please give
Thank
them a
you
round of
very much.
applause. Thanks. So we're going to continue with the real-time thing. I'd like to ask our panelists to come out at this point, and while I do my little segue, if you look at the write-up of this on the agenda, I don't know if anybody looks at write-ups, but I wrote it, and it's a little skeptical, I guess.